that the people engaged in this charity have taught me so much about human trafficking, and I now have met survivors through these weekly calls. I've learned things about this horrific scenario that men and women go through that I would never have known about in my day-to-day life. And so I really just want to thank the whole charity and Dr. Sheikh Ramzi in particular for welcoming me into their community to make a difference. And I've learned so much from so many people in a short space of time. So I just wanted to say that when we get up in the morning, whether we have a privileged life or not, we take for granted the breakfast, where we live, and so many people just don't have just basic human rights because of human trafficking. And so the basics of tonight is for us just to introduce this charity, why we set up, and we've got some amazing sort of eminent speakers who are going to share their stories and passion for this cause. Now, again, if anybody would like to reach out to any of our charity representatives throughout the night to find out more about the charity and how you can donate, we would be more than welcome to have a chat with you, to share booklets and materials. We're just waiting for a few more newcomers. You're all welcome. Thank you very much for joining today. We appreciate, we all have busy lives, and we really appreciate your attendance for this worthwhile cause. So, yes, you okay? Yeah, so we just wanted to say as well a little bit about why anti-trafficking is very much imminent in the modern day. Obviously, the modern slavery statement came out, and that is affecting lots of organisations at the moment. But anti-human trafficking is a worldwide problem. It's everybody's issue. Human rights are entitled to everyone, and dignity is for everyone, no matter what you look like and no matter where you're from. Human rights are what make us human. In the age of technology, in the age of us going to space, what do we have in common with the person next to us? It's our human rights, no matter your faith or nationality. So for me, human trafficking and the anti-human trafficking is something that is relatable to all of us, and we are all collectively responsible for the person next to us. And that is what makes us human. Sorry, my name is Rebecca Lilly, and I'm here thanks to Dr. Sheikh Ramzi and his wonderful charitable team. Thank you.
We're just waiting for a few people to arrive, so please give me a couple of minutes. I'm sure Sheikh wants me to start as soon as possible. Guys, feel free to have some drinks, coffee, tea.
At the moment, we have to sit down.
Sheikh, or Ali could do the waitering service if you must. But I've got a few.
I would have thought. Go on. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala shafal nabiyya wa al-mursaleen. Welcome, my brothers and sisters in humanity. It's the best, of course. We have our presenters here. I'm just coming to. They are my apprentices. They have to learn, inshallah. Now, what we need to do, inshallah, we started with Robin Marsh. Mr. Robin Marsh, she's going to welcome you all in UPF. 4 minutes, please. 4 minutes.
Well, I just want to do exactly that, to welcome everyone. Margaret and myself, we've been working here for 27 years, and we've had many evenings like this on many issues. Sheikh Ramzi is a former trustee of UPF UK, or Universal Peace Federation UK, and as you know, he's full of enthusiasm, full of passion, full of drive to go to another event, and to highlight another issue. So we're very grateful that you're coming tonight. and that together we can highlight this very important issue where people are so affected and so vulnerable, and so much tragedy comes from it. So you're welcome, and let's support this charity as much as we can. Thank you.
I would like to, of course, I believe second speaker is the Sheikh. We're doing 2 minutes, inshallah, by the grace of God. Of course, I know these Ali and of course, Dr. Ali, or we call it Captain Ali, and of course, Dr. Saf and Rebecca will help to, and so please support them because they are learning, inshallah, by the grace of God. But what we have here are all welcoming you again to the. Let me start with some praying, because it is a very important. We have the support of Almighty God. So this is for the princess. Then later, please, because we have some special guests which is mixed up. May Allah bless you all. I start. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Amma ba'd. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. All praise due to the Lord of all world, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the owner of the day of the judgment. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us. Please guide us along the straight path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, not the path of those who earn your anger or those who gone astray. Amen. My dear brothers and sisters in humanity, I would like to welcome all of you to the first conference of our organization, Stop Human Trafficking Worldwide. I would like to mention that the aim and objective of this NGO and charity-based organization includes to raise awareness among the young and old about the situation, educate people on how to protect themselves and how to help others on matter of the human trafficking, to identify and help the victims of trafficking, especially women and children. Women and children are in my heart. My daughters, my grandson, my sons, my mothers. They are being attacked all over the world. All over the world. It is, again, I have to say, I was going to say, is the second or third biggest business in the world. 350 billion pounds they taking from trafficking and kidnapping the mothers and daughters of us. 10 children's. This is, and we are silenced. We are silenced. We have to do something. Our government, in America, everywhere is silenced, and they taking him from the middle of the street. They were showing, my brother and sister, of course, I shouldn't take the time. They were showing in the Mexico, the gang came and the girl front of her mother, taken and gone. 3 years she's looking for her. This is happening. The police can't do anything. This is happening. Are we asleep? Are we asleep here? Is it not brother and sister in humanity? Or it should be only my brothers or my sister or my daughter which I shout and scream? This is a very, very important situation. It needs the united, all brothers and sisters, united to take this action. And united to stop. We can stop the cartel, we can stop the mafia or anything else if we be united by the grace of Almighty God. My brothers and sisters, to provide them with opportunity. Again, I said, to identify, to help the victims of trafficking, especially women and children. To provide them with the opportunity to rebuild their lives. Opportunity to rebuild their lives. Brother and sister in humanity, the goal is to save at least, inshallah, 100,000 lives during the first few years of this organization. And we do it by the grace of Almighty God. If you unite and help us. My brothers and sisters, we ask you to join us. in saving the life of these victims. Little mother, little children, there are 50,000 women, pretty women and children from Ukraine is missing. From Ukraine, 50,000 is missing. Two orphanages missing. Where is it gone? Did they taken for orphanage? Pedophiles. You have to remember, these are our children. And praying to God, these mothers, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or other, praying to God, oh God, please save us. Please save us from this evil. Or bring us to death. Bring our life to the end. They are asking because they got a husband, they got a thing, but they got in honest traffickers. It is very, very important, my brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters, very important you join us. We pray. We pray for a day that there will be no victims of trafficking, inshallah. My brothers and sisters, we pray and ask the Almighty God, Allah, to help us, to guide us through our journey in saving lives of the victims of human trafficking. Ameen. Ameen. Thank you for listening. Don't clap. It was important. Don't clap. Please don't clap. It was a prayer. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheikh. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow advocates, just to echo what Sheikh said, we stand together to advocate for change. It's time for us as a united people to embrace a transformative mindset, shift our perspectives on life, and foster a culture of compassion and respect for each other. We're all here today, both in this room and virtually. I think people are on Zoom at the moment. And I have so much gratitude that we all share the same commonality, the commonality of love, the commonality of connection, the love for giving, the love for support, and the love to make a difference, to make a change. On behalf of the Stop Trafficking team, and you can meet them all as the event carries on. There's quite a few of us, and we're all volunteers, as Sheikh said. We're here to try and change and save lives. Because what's going on in the world is absolutely disgusting. It's sick. Poverty exploited. Children exploited. Women, men, all exploited. And it's time to stop, to make a difference. Whether we're talking about child exploitation, whether we're talking about sex trafficking, whether we're talking about grooming, whether we're talking about modern-day slavery, refugee vulnerability, we're talking about global exploitation, full stop. And we're here to fight injustice together.
So I'd just like to say the good news is that we are an open charity that is welcome to fundraising ideas and educational efforts and legal research. So if anybody wants to make a difference and they are impacted by the words of this evening, we do welcome you to reach out to the charity so we can make that impact together. United, we can impact the world and stop human trafficking, full stop. So I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Saf Buxi said. We want to unite to save lives. We want to rescue victims of trafficking and safeguard the essence of humanity itself. Together, and this includes all the people in this room and your wider networks, we are positive that united we can make a difference. So I would just like to say again, please do not hesitate to contact any of our team in order to donate or to provide your services to us. So, have we got the next speaker?
Thanks, Rebecca. Right, so we've got our first speaker. It's someone that we are going to be collaborating with. He's an incredible person, and the work he does is absolutely incredible. His name's Mark Bhagwan. Mark Bhagwan, sorry. He's the Director of Communications Advocacy at the Medaille Trust. The Medaille Trust is one of the largest providers of safe housing in the UK for victims of modern slavery. The work he does and the work they do is absolutely remarkable. He's responsible for the charity's media relations and external and internal communications. He also works closely with other agencies in the modern-day slavery sector on joint campaigns. Mark has 18 years of experience in the charity sector. He's also a former journalist, radio talk show host, and editor-in-chief of the Guyana Broadcasting Corporation. Without further ado, Mark, would you please come up here?
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to represent Medai Trust, but even a greater pleasure to welcome into this sector a new organization. So congratulations and welcome on board. We need as many hands as we can to take this fight forward. The Medai Trust started in 2006, and it began with a Catholic nun who was working in Southampton, and she saw women who were into prostitution, and she got to talking to them and found out that many of them had not been there by choice. In fact, quite a few of them had been trafficked and could not escape the people who were using them. And Sister Anne Teresa, as her name is, decided that she wanted to reach out to them. And so at Christmas time, she would have a lunch at the church and invite them all to have lunch with her at the church where she was working. And then she decided that she needed to do much more because she listened to their stories and wanted to help them. And so she began giving talks around the country at various parishes. And she said, you know, what I would like to do is to provide some refuge to these people. And after one of those church talks, a couple came up to her and they said, you know what, we have a house in Southampton that we are not using. We bought it as a retirement home, but it's there. What do you think about starting a safe house? And she said, that's a brilliant idea, yes. And so the first Medai Safe House began in Southampton with a donation of that house, and it is still going today. But over the years, Medai stretched its wings, and it now has 10 safe houses. One safe house was opened just last year, and in April and May, in May we opened another one, and then at the end of May, we extended the one in Mersey in Liverpool to include 10 more rooms. And so the charity is looking to expand even further and further to provide accommodation. Medai Trust operates on the 3 principles. It describes it as the 3 Ps: prevent, protect, pursue. We can talk all we want about modern slavery, but the trigger for modern slavery globally is poverty. That's why people get trapped. That's why people are fooled into thinking that they are coming to a bed of roses and then find themselves in a basement growing cannabis. And so if we don't address the poverty issue, then we will always have modern slavery. And so Medai Trust began a project last year working in Albania. And those of you who have followed the news about modern slavery, Albania is the second largest number of people who come here as a result of modern slavery are from Albania. In fact, actually, I'm wrong. It has recently taken over the UK. The biggest group of people who are in modern slavery is actually UK nationals. Yes. About 27% of people in modern slavery are actually vulnerable UK nationals. And then 24% are from Albania. The other big group is Eritrea, but that's only about 7%, but still that's too much. And then we have Vietnamese, which are about 5 or 6%. And then we've got Sudanese as well. So those are the major groups. So we're trying to reach out to them. So what Medai Trust did is it launched an entrepreneurship academy in Albania, which works with small companies, cottage industries, little companies, to expand and grow sustainably their businesses so that they could provide more jobs. And recently, as of last month, we decided to invest in a small company which buys local produce from people, and they dry them and then resell them. So it's providing jobs for farmers who would have nowhere to sell their crops. And it's in one of the poorest regions of Albania. One of the things that we're investing in is a dryer, a commercial dryer, which dries out the stuff. And I don't know much about them, but that's the premise. And so what it does, it'll dry out the things, and then the company will be able to expand. So prevention is striking at poverty. The second thing about prevention is sort of what we are hoping to achieve in collaboration with this group is awareness. As many people as you can tell, modern slavery is an unseen problem. It happens in car washes, it happens in restaurants, it happens in cafes, nail bars, you name it. It is in small businesses where it is rampant a lot. And we need to be able to look out for the signs and raise awareness. Then Medai Trust, at the protection level, it has the 10 safe houses, which I referred to earlier. And they provide homes for people who are escaping modern slavery. Aside from the houses, we have 6 social hubs, which after they've left the houses, they often need help to assimilate and to integrate into wider society. And that may be things as simple as reading and writing. We have somebody from Bangladesh who didn't know how to read and write in her own language. We are now helping her to learn to read and write, and also to do it in English language. And so this is called the Moving On Project, works side by side with the safe houses to give them the opportunity to rebuild their lives after that trauma. And finally, Saf, I'm not going to take too much longer, and finally, Pursue. It's about helping people who have been exploited get the justice that they want. And very often they are afraid to testify. Medai Trust works with the police. We have a collaboration with the Crown Prosecution Service. We've been talking to them about getting evidence. And so we have about 20 of our staff who are trained to talk to victims and to get their testimonies and evidence, which can be admitted in court. So those are the sort of broad areas, and we are very much looking forward to working with this group, and we wish you all the best. And we look forward to hearing more about your progress. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you very much. We're so happy to be working with you in collaboration. I want to introduce someone very quickly who wants to say a few words in connection to what you just spoke about, Mark. And he is the CEO, the chairman, the founder of Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club, Mr. Mobeen Rafiq, Lord Mobeen Rafiq. Please would you come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate all the people who started this endeavor, especially my brother Sheikh. Also wants to thank Robin, who's always there for any good cause, and Margaret. This topic is very close to my heart. I started my industries in 77, and my father was in industry, so from my childhood, it was always there, how am I going to help people? Poverty, employment generation is very close to my heart, because I was a hands-on industrialist. I've done I've traveled 82 countries and 500 times London and Karachi. So I'm launching my book in a couple of months' time. It's called Creating Entrepreneurs Through Skill Development and SMEs. So this topic, my brother Sheikh made sure that I have to be here. So I came straight away because I can't say no to him. I think this is the most important topic. But the problem is, there are more academic people talk about this, but end of the day, nobody wants to talk about the solution. The solution is very easy. You need to, if you want to do something constructive, you have to alleviate poverty. And the only way to alleviate poverty is by creating jobs. Unfortunately, the main problem is that the doers in the government, having positions all over the world, they've got no idea how to do it. They get so busy. So microcredit, micro industries and SMEs are a backbone of every country. These micro and small medium enterprises, even in England, if you look at it, 80%, I still remember 80% of SMEs in UK are the backbone. You go anywhere in the world, you see 85% of the SMEs. All the export, you see it is through SMEs. So I think to achieve that poverty alleviation, the most important thing what you need to begin with is a vocational training centers. Now, I've been from industry, I've trained thousands of children, you won't believe it, youngsters came down to my industry, I made them stand in front of simple machines. Within few days, they were churning more product than the very skilled people. So, we need to give opportunity, a chance to youngsters, but vocational training center is the easiest thing the government can do. So we need vocational training center in each and every village, so you provide them the skill. Before I leave, because this is my subject, I can carry on talking the whole day, but I just want to give you, okay. So if you see a Forbes magazine, they did a survey of 650 microcredit companies, the best one they took. And out of that, they did their due diligence and they came up with 50 top microcredits companies. So the number one was Asa Microcredit in Bangladesh. And they gave number 17, another Bangladesh Grameen, Dr. Yunus. So I still remember one day I was playing golf in Dhaka, one of the major journal, Mateen, and I just said, look, I'm here, I want to meet one of this microcredit chief. And he was laughing. He said, let's go in the morning. So you won't believe it. In the morning when I went and visited Asa Microcredit, they've got around 25,000 people working for them. And surprisingly, when I entered in the room, I said to the managing director, I said, why do you give money to the people? Why don't you give them skill? And that was a time that it took him 1 minute. He brought a piece of paper. He said, you made a sense, because we give money and then nobody comes back. The people get embarrassed, because the money which we give it to them, these guys, I said, people can con me even at this age. How about if the people you are giving money, they will go back and do. Anyhow, my friend is here. We'll talk about more, inshallah, in detail. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution. We really appreciate it. And just a quick reminder that if anybody wants to connect with each other and talk about anti-trafficking and help the charity, you can approach Ali, Saf, or myself at the end with your details. Next, I would like to introduce Martin Waitman. Martin Waitman is the director of the All Faiths Network, an interfaith and religious freedom organisation, a member of UK Freedom of Religion and Belief Forum, and an advisory board member for the African Development and Human Rights Organisation, AIDO. the Ateka International Development Organisation. He has also recently been appointed as a trustee for UK's umbrella organisation for the religious and interfaith groups, the Interfaith Network. So could we please welcome Martin Wakeman? Thank you.
Well, hello everybody, welcome. Good to see all of you here. Excellent. So, I've been asked to speak about the human rights aspect. Of course, it's pretty obvious, it's a human rights problem. Still, I've been involved in human rights and working to improve conditions in life in one way or another for a large part of my life. And the ideals that are laid out in the Universal Declaration and the European Convention on Human Rights are clearly principles that we should live by. So, when it comes to human trafficking, and especially the trafficking of women and children for sexual abuse, there is little that I, and I am sure you, can think of that is more despicable. I can have some understanding that people will want to move from their own countries to more affluent ones in order to have a better life, to free from oppression. And this may well involve trafficking. I'm not going to get into that issue here. However, to sink to the level of what is essentially slavery, to condone this practice for such base motivations as financial greed and sexual gratification is going beyond the pale of human decency. It is so clearly against human rights. If I name just a few of the rights from the Universal Declaration, these are all Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. Article 3, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Article 4, no one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all forms. And Article 5, no one shall be subject to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. All of these and many more rights will apply to the trafficking of women and children. So, what we must not forget as well is this is happening not just because of the poor conditions in the lands of the people who are being trafficked, but because there is also a demand for sexual and child abuse and labour in the lands where people are being trafficked. Two, it is almost hard to believe that this is the case in our own country, but it clearly is the case. And this is something that we really have to address as well. And so it is on this note that I ask you to show your full support for this new Stop Trafficking initiative and to help in any way that you can, financial, voluntary work, whatever you can stretch yourself to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martin. A lot of people don't know their own basic human rights, so thank you for bringing up some of the main ones that will affect this topic. Our next speaker, he is Lord McNair. He has a family tradition for concern for human rights that includes his grandfather who, as Sir Arnold McNair, was a British judge at the International Court of Justice at The Hague in Holland, and his father, Lord John McNair, who was active on the human rights issues as a delegate from the UK House of Lords to the Council of Europe. Duncan's interest in humanitarian affairs it began at an early age, and in 2015, 800 years after the Magna Carta, he founded Peaceful Planet Human Rights Education, with a course translated into Arabic, Farsi, Kurdish, Turkish, and Urdu. Peaceful Planet is focusing on human rights education in some troubled parts of the world. You can check out his website. It's peacefulplanet.org, and it offers education in human rights for all ages from elementary to adult level, and training in development awareness of the elements of human dignity. He'll be joining us remotely because there's a train strike. He couldn't get here.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, good. Following on from Martin Wayman and what Martin Wayman he's obviously got the right to cover the human rights that are relevant to this horrible subject. What I would like to say is that I think it's very important that people in every country should know their human rights, and what Peaceful Planet Human Rights Education does is to provide education in what the human rights are. And my view is that if the best protection for my rights is to make sure that you know what they are, and the best protection for your rights is for you to make sure that I know what they are. And with that, we are united in a common endeavor to protect each other's and everybody else's human rights. So what Peaceful Planet is set up to do is to educate people, to empower people with knowledge of human rights. And we have recently gone live with a new website, and we have new materials. I've done some research into the whole field of human dignity, and based on some work by Dr. Donna Hicks, who's a Harvard PhD who works in the field of conflict resolution, we have a human dignity course or workshop that is really the fundamental of human rights. And in the preamble to the Universal Declaration, it talks about the need to respect human dignity. So what we've done is explore what human dignity is using the model of Dr. Hicks. So that's a brief introduction to Peaceful Planet. And of course, the work ties in very precisely with the human trafficking issue. And on that subject, the independent inquiry into child sex abuse in the United Kingdom it finished its work in November of last year, and the report was published in May of this year. I think I read that it reviewed something like 2 million pages of documentation and took evidence from many people. Of course, there are some high-profile cases that everybody knows about in the UK. But I would make the point that the report comes to the remarkable conclusion that although there was some deference to prominent people, the whole area of child sex abuse doesn't exist at the higher levels of society. And I think it's the child sex abuse, the trafficking, and the exploitation and abuse that happens at these higher levels of society across the world that is keeping the whole thing in place and is actually fueling it, because as we've heard, it is I think it's now the second most lucrative form of criminality on the planet. And in that regard, I urge you to watch the film about human trafficking called The Sound of Freedom, which is very powerful, very difficult to watch, but it just gives a window on this horrible world. So that's actually all I really want to say. I wish you well, and I will collaborate in any way that I can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord. Right, our next speaker, our next guest, has an incredible story. She was introduced to me by a very good friend of mine, Rocco Buonvino, who's a producer, a TV producer, festival entrepreneur, just a very good friend of mine, Rocco is, and he thought we should get together, especially when he heard about this wonderful organisation that we're putting together. Her name is Loretta Lyon. She's an international motivational speaker, author of the book Unbroken, Surviving Human Trafficking. She's a public speaker and presentation skills coach. She lived in Singapore for 5 years working with C-level clients, but also was involved with ambassadors and charities to stop violence and human trafficking. Loretta herself was a victim of human trafficking and organ harvesting during the war in Yugoslavia at 17 years of age. She found herself kidnapped and fearing for her life. And after 6 months of being held in solitary confinement, abused and beaten, she finally got rescued and was moved to safety in the UK as a political refugee. I mean, I can continue about introducing her. I'm going to pass it over to Loretta because I think she needs to tell her story. So.
How am I supposed to do this speech now that I'm crying?
God bless you. God bless you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Oh, sorry, just get me to catch my thoughts. I've been crying since this started. And I've been crying not because I'm saddened, but because I am so moved to see how many people I had behind until tonight, because I thought I was on my own. I'm going to go back and just give you the backstory of what happened and how it happened, because the book is out there, as you can see, and I intend to link it to a charity to support it as much as I can with everything that I have still. But I was born and raised in a Muslim family in former Yugoslavia, and which happened to be Serbia now. We went through a war where we fought each other. We were like in a frying pan. The entire human rights were taken away. We didn't even know they existed. Our country went through war for decades, and those decades turned into a never-ending nightmare. As the time went on and I was 17, my dad asked me, we were having a chat, he's a doctor, and he said, Loretta, have you thought what you want to be when you're a bit older? Oh, I said, Dad, that's so nice that you asked me. I said, I want to be a doctor just like you. He said, but what do you mean just like me? I mean, what is it about me? I just said, you know, the way you help people. Oh, he sat me down. It doesn't really say much, bless him. And he goes, Loretta, look, if helping people is what you want to do in life, you're going to find a way to do that. Because the way things are, I don't think you're going to be going to university. And me being a 17-year-old, I got all in a strop. I'm like, how dare you, Father? I've got all these grades. I'm doing really well at school. Are you doubting me, surely? And I was the only child as well. All I wanted to do is just be as good as they were with everyone and everything they did. They were like, I was looking up to them. And so my dad knew something that I learned the hard way. War was on our doorstep. We were at war. There was no way my generation went, or even further other generations after me, that did go to university, regardless of their dreams that they had. And so this one evening, we heard these huge footsteps coming into our garden. And my dad got a little bit panicked, and he's a very calm man. He would never panic. Oh, he said, something's really wrong. we got outside and we were being marched by the soldiers of Serbian soldiers into the crease of the mountains. And their point was to make the biggest massacre that ever been, bigger than the ones they've done in Bosnia. And I point out because Bosnia is sort of up from us. We were in the south on the border with Serbia, Macedonia, and Kosovo. And into this crease of the mountain, there was a lot of negotiation. We thought we were dying that night. But I'm not going to spoil the book too much. My dear uncle, may God bless his soul, he gave his entire wealth to bribe the government, to bribe the army that was formed during the war, to free these people just to have one more night at home. And it worked. He was a farmer. He worked with animals, but somehow he was amazing at negotiation. And he basically saved everyone's life for the moment. My dad sat me down and he said, Loretta, I can't have you here. This was like pretty much a couple of days later. He said, the soldiers are killing and raping at will. Why don't you cross through the mountains into Kosovo, where the United Nations, the peacekeepers, my bad, are in Kosovo, and seek for the Red Cross? I said, Dad, I can't do that. I can't walk through the mountains and crossing borders. I'm only 17. He said, you have to do this for me. Crossing the borders, ending up in the streets of Kosovo, completely on my own, lost in the dark fall. And I ended up in front of this bar where I was discovered by 2 American police officers, which served as peacekeepers, Peter O'Brien and Brian O'Reeves. They are both mentioned in the book. They're still my friends. We managed to get in touch and make that connection again. And I said to them, take me to the Red Cross. They said, we can't take you to the Red Cross. And I couldn't speak English, by the way. It was a translator, an Albanian-speaking translator, because I speak fluent Serbian and Albanian. And he said, but we can give you shelter in our home. And I was very cautious. 2-man, Muslim girl. Do I go? I don't know them. Americans, different faith to me. And all these doubts in my head. War zone back home. I had zero choice but to follow them. And they became my best friends. They gave me shelter. They respected me. And they taught me that religion and what have you, race and color matters not if you've been raised in the right way and you serve the one purpose, and that's to do good. So they said, never leave our apartment without us. And I said, well, what's the worst that could happen? This is within a few weeks with them, months with them. I went outside to pick up a magazine to read it in Albanian because I thought I'm just bored, and getting to the point where I got taken. As I walk outside, I had this big squeaking wheels van, black van, just pulls in front of me. And I'm literally about to say, whoa, watch out, kind of thing. Like, what are you doing? You're on top of the pavement. But this was a thought in my head. I didn't even have the chance to translate it into words. Next thing I knew, I couldn't see. I had this thing over my head. I got dragged into the car, this truck. And I could smell the petrol of the truck and like this van. And they're speaking in Albanian and they're saying, we've got her, and many more words, because I don't wish to say tonight, but you can read the book. And I realized I was in trouble. And I wanted to pinch myself to see whether I was dreaming it. And they took me to the boss. And the boss gave the order, so he wanted to watch me being raped. And it was big guys, and I was 17 and weak and naive. And as they pulled everything off me and they dragged me to the floor, I don't know why I did what I did, but I really screamed. I said, please don't do this, I'm a virgin. And everything stopped. And I didn't realize why it stopped, but he said, wow, we have stumbled across a huge cargo. And I'm thinking, cargo? I mean, that's like trucks and like goods in my head. He said, wow, she is worth a lot of money, isn't she, boys? Money. I'm thinking, what money? You know, I'm still questioning it. soon I got shown what they were preparing me to do. So they groomed me, they kept me with them. They didn't touch me sexually, but they made me watch a lot of stuff. And ultimately, I decided that no matter what it took, I wasn't ready this to be my end. I needed to do something for my parents, for the love I had for my parents, because I knew if I gave in, that's it. My parents would never know what happened to me. And lo and behold, that little girl, she made sure every time we were out and about, I made a scene. To the point where the boss had enough. I was sold to the highest bidder. On the process of being given to them, we got stopped at the border and returned back. So we couldn't cross the border for a few days. So they said, we can't keep sitting at the border. We have to move. And I made sure I would cause a scene at the bars while I was going to the toilet. And so people noticed I was in distress. And they started raising alarms behind the scene. And when that one evening, the final evening when I escaped them, they gave the order to kill me, rape me, kill me, and dispose my body like they've done with other girls that I watched rape and kill. And that's when I got really scared. And the evening of the night that I was supposed to die, I have never prayed to Allah like I have prayed that night. I've never prayed before like that, and I don't think I've ever done it again. May He forgive me, but something, a magic happened that night when I prayed, and I laid on sajda, and I said, I'm not ready. I wasn't ready. God opened the door for me, and 2 doors. And I made sure when I walked down those doors and those steps, I fall into the hands of police officers, and I give an interview, and these people get arrested, but never held accountable, because when they go to Hague or they go to these places, why do they have access? So much power to walk away from it, to get out of it. I escaped them. I'm very lucky, but unfortunately my story didn't end there. I gave my interview, which served them somehow to be arrested and serve some kind of justice. But unfortunately, when I returned back to Serbia, the soldiers that were formed during the war in Serbia were waiting for me, and they imprisoned me for 6 months in a very small room. And the night that they interrogated me, they broke my nose, they broke my ear, my jaw. They branded me. I had a huge brand on my calf, which I had to erase. And then they put me in this dark room for 6 months. And they raped me daily. And they abused me daily, psychologically and physically. And I gave in. And again, it wasn't my time. And because it wasn't my time, I realized God was speaking to me, because He was preparing me for this. He was preparing me. He realized my soul could handle so much that I wasn't to be silent once I made it through. But I didn't know until I healed. It took years to heal. It took people like yourselves, took loads of men to regain my trust in men, to be able to create life, to have 2 boys that I have been blessed with, and to have many men in my life that constantly guide me and support me and put up with my nightmares, including my husband. And women that never give up on another woman. They don't get threatened by another woman, because we are not here. This is not a competition. This is a journey, and our fight can only be won, or at least eliminated, the bad by doing good. But had somebody told me there is people like you in the world, I would have spoken out a lot sooner, because I feel all this time that I was just this echo and not a voice, I wasted so much time, and how many lives I could have saved. And now I want to be the voice and not the echo anymore. And the survivors of such crime, please understand them when they don't want to speak up, because it is first they're going to feel ashamed, and they're going to feel scared, and they're not going to trust anyone. So trust is rebuilding them slowly. We have to respect that. But with this, I would like to also touch base. It is about 150 million people, statistically speaking, by CIA has reported it to me directly, an agent. The 150 million people get trafficked every year. Where are these people going? And what's happening? How can we not see it in the borders? You take something in your pocket, they immediately see, like, oh, you've got scissors. Really? Scissors? What about these humans that you guys are just putting a blind eye to? So unfortunately, hierarchy is involved, and is involved big. But I said something last night when I did a speech. We are majority, and we are watching it happen. They are minority, and they are earning money out of our loved ones, of people like myself. Maybe you are not directly affected, but if you were to look deeper, you'll find that you know many people that have been through something. So say no to human trafficking, support the books so I can support the charity, and I'm going to continue to speak, and I am not afraid of them. They are still at large, and they've taken many Syrian children when they went through Serbia and Kosovo on the border. And I watched it from Singapore, and nothing I could do about it. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for supporting this cause, this charity. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me here. It's such an honor. I don't know what more I can say. I can't thank you enough. So thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Wow, thank you very much for that moving testimony, Loretta, and may Allah bless you for the courage that you have just shown to us and many more, and may Allah continue to bless you with courage to fight for this worthy cause. So the next speaker is Shaukat Ali, a philanthropist at heart. Shaukat Ali is the chairman of the British Muslim Friends of Labour and the president of the International Peace and Prosperity Forum. Shaukat discovered his love for helping people selflessly early on in his life and has tried his best to be there for anyone and everyone whenever they need him ever since. Shaukat Ali, as the chairman of the British Muslim Friends of Labour, Shaukat acts as a bridge between the Muslim community and the Labour Party. Through the British Muslim Friends of Labour, Shaukat also encourages Muslims to be active members of the community and be involved in the community and play an active role within politics. Shaukat is also included in Muslim Power 100. So if I could please welcome Shaukat Ali.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Brother Ramsey, thank you so much for inviting me here. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Can we have a round of applause for Brother Ramsey, please? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, today we gathered here with a shared vision and common goal to eradicate one of the most evil crimes that affect our world, human trafficking. This modern-day form of slavery knows no borders, affecting millions of innocent lives. Globally, it's time for us to unite and take decisive action to put an end to this grave justice. Human trafficking is a multi-billion dollar industry that preys on the vulnerable and marginalized, exploiting their dreams and aspirations. For better life, it takes many forms, from forced labor, sexual exploitation to child soldiers and organ trafficking. It knows no description of age, gender, or nationality. It thrives in the shadows, making it our collective responsibility to bring it into light, To combat the evil, we must focus on three key pillars: prevention, protection, and prosecution. First, prevention starts with education and awareness. We must empower our communities with knowledge about the tactics of traffickers, use and warning signs to look out for. By promoting education, economic opportunities, we can reduce vulnerability and provide alternative to those at risk. Second, protection is essential for the survivors of trafficking. We need to create a safe space and support networks to help them recover physically, emotionally, and mentally. Governments, NGOs, and communities must work together to ensure their well-being, integration back into society. Lastly, we must strengthen the prosecution of traffickers and those involved in this criminal enterprise. This requires robust laws and effective law enforcement, as well as international cooperation to bring the perpetrators to justice, and regardless of where they operate. But let's all not forget that each one of us has a role to play in this fight. We can raise awareness, volunteer our time, support organizations that combat trafficking, demand that our government prioritize this issue. As we work together to end trafficking, let us remember the words Nelson Mandela said: "It's in our hands to create a better world for all who live in it." Let us join hands, hearts and minds to build the world where freedom, dignity, respect are not just ideals, but reality for all. Together, we can stop trafficking worldwide, create a brighter future for generations to come. Thank you so much. And I'm also really grateful for Brother Robin and Sister Margaret. You're doing a fantastic job. You're humanity champions. Keep up the wonderful work, and we're all the way with you. Brother Ramsey, keep up wonderful work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shaukat, because he does a lot of community work here throughout the UK and Europe. Our next speaker is a global leading activist for peace, justice, tolerance, human rights, and democracy. He is the founder and chairman of Third World Solidarity and the coordinator of the all-party parliamentary group on Third World Solidarity in the UK Parliament. Mushtaq Lashari was awarded in 2016 the title of Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, CBE, by our late Queen. Former Deputy Mayor of the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and Honorary Alderman since July 2011. Can I welcome Mushtaq Lashari, Most Honourable, to our stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think you moved me, because I also faced this many years back in 1981. I think there was war going on in Afghanistan when a lot of people traveled from Pakistan and other part of the world through Afghanistan, through Iran, to the Western world, and I'm one of those. I came to this country as a refugee, so that is my story in 1981, because I was only asking for democracy in my country, which was a country of my origin. But can I first of all congratulate the organizer of this event, and I say thank you for doing this wonderful task. But can I start with saying three things? First, I agree with everybody, Martin, everybody who has spoken before me, and I appreciate their contribution. But can I say that peace is the most important thing if we can achieve? I think in 1945, when United Nations was established, the purpose of United Nations was that no wars, but through dialogue, we will sort out the troubled part of the world. We have enough resources in the world that nobody should die hungry. And we know there are a lot of people who are dying hungry. There is no need of wars. We spend billions of dollars on weapons and then create wars to test them. I think we must work together to stop, first of all, wars. Second is, inequality. I think that has been mentioned already. Poverty has been mentioned. Doctor, you mentioned it. I think inequalities forces people to go through these difficult tasks. I think you must have all heard that a ship or a boat was drowned on the border of Italy, in which 400 Pakistanis were killed. And I know that country very well, as I know this country very well. I think this country is the best in the world to do a lot of refuge to the people who are affected. But now we can see they are moving out of it and making laws to stop it. So let's also put the resistance to these people who create wars, who create weapons, who try to influence the world. And once this war has reached to their border, they have become very interested in bringing peace. I think Ukraine has been mentioned here. But can I say that 3 things before I end, and I know time is limited and there are a lot of very important speakers before me and after me. So the first thing is, the people who want peace are in majority. The people who want to create wars and disturbance are very few. But unfortunately, they are leading the world. We know who are they, and we know the ordinary people in all over the world want peace. I think there are 2 types of people. And first type is what you are, or second type is what you are. And the majority of the people are who are born for themselves, live for themselves, die for themselves, and they are dead before they die. We want to educate them, to bring up like yourself. Who are you? You are only majority, possibly 3%, 2%, or possibly 1%, Dr. Ramzi, who are born for others, live for others, and work for others, and die for others. They never die. So I really appreciate every one of you, because in this hall, I can see faces, and I wouldn't mention anybody, otherwise whole evening will be spent, because I know most of you. And I think it is very important that we increase the number 2 people who are born for others, live for others, die for others, because they will never die. And the work you are doing under staff trafficking worldwide is very important. Because still, as Doctor said, 27% of the people in United Kingdom are used as slaves. 24% of Ukraine, 7% of Eritrea, and I work in all those countries for peace. But unfortunately, we have to create and make United Nations more powerful to bake it back to the purpose which it was established about 78 years ago. So let's work for peace, let's work for justice, let's work for fight against inequality and poverty, and work with you all together to create more people who are like you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. God bless you all. God bless you all. I know it's very warm, but of course, in a few minutes we have a panel, and after that, the lovely food. However, we have our Honorable Sir Raja Sekandar Khan, the Chairman of Global Pakistan and Kashmir Supreme Council. Please put your hand together for the Raja.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to every one of you. First of all, I would like to congratulate Dr. Sheikh Ramzi and his team for organizing such a wonderful event. And today, my heart weeps after listening to Loretta. I'm really touched after listening to a lot of speakers today. And my question today to every one of you is, what are we doing to stop the human trafficking? Up to today, I was not fully aware of some of the facts I've listened today. There are millions of people who have been trafficked on a daily basis, children, women, brutally raped, kidnapped, sometimes killed. And we have to do something about it. Let's take a pledge, an oath, that every one of us here today, we will contribute whatever we can in our ability to stop the human trafficking. Can we? Thank you so much. Having said that, I'm glad our brother has earlier on said we have to work on peace. Yes, we have to eliminate poverty. We have to work on peace to stop the human trafficking. Otherwise, it'll continue and we will not be able to do nothing about it. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, I know there's a lot of other speakers as well, and time is very limited. I will only say that one thing: it's no good just listening and going home and doing nothing about it. We have to act, and act very quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that as well. I just want to introduce Farhad Zaman. Is that correct? Farhad Zaman. It is our pleasure to welcome Farhad Zaman, a modern-day slavery survivor in the UK, who was nominated by Her Majesty the Queen in the 2022 Platinum Jubilee for his voluntary service in the UK. He spent almost 5 years as a slave since his arrival in the UK. After years of mental and physical abuse, he escaped from this place to save his life and then became homeless and attempted suicide. He had no family or friends to get help, but voluntary service had given him the hope of life, with few close friends who held him with love and with kindness. Zaman, who has since run the London Marathon 5 times, was the London ambassador for the London Olympics 2012. It took over a decade to prove his innocence as a victim of slavery, because sponsors kept Zaman's passport and used personal details to clear the sponsor's debt. Until now, he has been living with a lot of uncertainty in his life, despite efforts to find peace and safety. It is our honour to welcome Farhad Zaman to the stage. Thank you very much. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to give a thanks to Almighty God, because without his permission I couldn't be here. I'm really grateful to him. And assalamu alaikum to all of you, and good evening. Thanks for your time. And we'd like to give a special thanks to Dr. Ramzi. Actually, I would like to say he's the ambassador of the humanity, you know. So obviously, she told the summary of my story. Actually, it was really, really painful for me. You can see today I'm here. I wasn't sure that I would be here today, because the uncertainty of my life, where I was. And everyone, we hear her story. It is not easy to share your sad, especially if it is your past. It is not easy to explain, which is I have faced, because I was the member of the confused.com. Do you know why? Because when I went to the people, I was telling the truth, people didn't believe me. And today, actually, I could say lots of the unknown story. Obviously, Mark already shared all the statistics, but there's a number of things which is not coming in the media, in the newspaper, and I'm one of them. I remember the day I went to the police station, because I had no choice. I went to the police station and I was kicked by the police because they didn't believe me. They said, you are lying, you have a mental health issues, so go to the hospital. Then I went to the hospital. But I was scared to share my story, because I used to share my story, my GP, and my GP passed the information to my sponsor, because it was his GP also. So I couldn't trust anyone. And I had no friend. So only friend I had, the Almighty. So I was telling him, and at that time you can feel the prayer, how you could pray, the way she prayed. Maybe it was your best prayer in your life. So I was going around different part of the London just to tell my story. I was begging. I said, please listen my story. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. If you think like I'm lying or it is not true, you can take action, but please save me. My sponsor, he used my personal details and everything just to clear his debts and all these things. And I was a victim of not only the slavery, victim of fraud and all these things. And it took a decade just to prove that it was not me. And what Mr. Sikandar, he said, there's so many things we can see around. Just a few weeks ago, I had a discussion with the policy maker of the British Parliament. I said, the policy, it is right, but you have to look at that, how this policy is implementing. The people who is working, they really know the policy or not? Because they have to know. Because we are the victims. And it came to the news also, and it's similar thing happened to me because I was forcefully kicked out by the sponsor. He sent the information to the Home Office because most of the victims, their immigration status is not like fully correct. So sometimes what happens, they use it to kick them out. And you can't believe that those people, the perpetrator, they are from our society. Some of them, they're member of the NHS, some of them member of the political party, all these people. You can't believe that, and this is I have seen. And when you go against them, nobody wants to listen. They will ask you, who are you? They want to interrogate you about you than these people. So I would say the law is there, but we need to know, we need to implement in the right way. Same time, because there's lots of abuser here also. So many people, they abuse this law to get right to stay in the UK. So you have to be fair enough. And I can see, I have faced, when I used to deal all these things, there is a £33.5 million was used for this modern day slavery by the UK government. But there is a question, how many victims they got the support? Most of the victims, from my experience I have seen, they don't know at all about these things. And they are not getting the justice. Until today, I'm threatened by the criminal who damaged my life. Could you believe that? I don't have any protection like how all of you have here. And this is the reality. So that's why we have to not only raise the voice, we have to work on it. And because it is not easy to handle. Because we like to hear someone else's story, but when something happened to us, happened to yourself, it's not easy to handle. And those things will gonna be forced to end someone's life or your life. So you have to support. So same again, I would like to thanks, and hopefully please visit to the website, and if you type my name, MF Zaman, there's a number of articles about that and documentary about that, because I have to say something to raise, because if I not come out, who will gonna know that? And from that point of view, I set up a charity, Safe and Safe, to give the support, to the mental support, mainly to the victims. So hopefully you're gonna give support to everyone. If you know someone, please listen. Don't judge. This is our duty as a human. So hopefully soon I'll get my justice to establish the truth, and we're all gonna stand in same line to establish the truth. So thanks again, thanks for your time. Thank you very much, bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Fahad. Fahad's a valuable member of our team. So thank you for that. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for being here so far. The support has been amazing for our launch, family, friends, distinguished guests. It's just so lovely to see so many people here. So thank you very much for being here. Our next speaker, who's joining us online at the moment, her name is Remzi Douli. Some people call her Remy, some people call her Rema. She started her journey as a refugee from Kosovo in the early 90s, a loving mother of 2 young men with a passionate community leader with more than 20 years of public organisational experience, a human rights activist She is committed to building strong communities, believing that individual action, co-production and peer support are the keys to change. Rema is one of 7 refugees from 7 decades and 7 countries to mark 70 years of the Refugee Convention, to recreate the iconic photograph of the original signing of the Refugee Convention. She's also a qualified pharmaceutical chemist. She's graduated from Queen Mary's University with a Bachelor in Science. And she's a member of Instructor of Mental Health First Aid England, and the last few years a service manager with different services in domestic violence, young people, modern day slavery and mental health. She's the founder of a number of non-profit organisations, Swapaholics Kosovo, Recycling Fashion, Building Blocks for Success, BEN, in Kosovo, and Kosovo Albanian Youth Against Violence in London, focused on supporting Albanian-speaking families with children with integration and education, promoting violence-free, healthy lifestyle. Remy, all over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you can hear me well. Unfortunately, it happens I'm away at the moment. I would love to be amongst all of you. Thank you so much to Dr. Ramzi and to my lovely friend Ali for inviting me. Such an honor to be part of this event tonight. Yes, I do strongly believe that people like ourselves, together, when we talk about modern slavery, we can actually make a change. And the most important thing is to actually create a host, a welcoming environment. So when victims of modern slavery and human trafficking know that their organizations, networks like this exist, they could come and join us and just listen. Exactly what the previous speaker said, that there was a number of people that don't even know that there's organization like this available, so people can come and talk to someone. I think that's very important for me to mention that tonight. That's my job, and I've been doing this for some time now. In the last year, as part of Refugee Council, we've launched a campaign which is called Escaping Violence, Hoping for Sanctuary. And it's exactly about raising awareness. What we spotted is mostly women and young girls are the ones that there's a lack of service provision when it comes to, unfortunately, gender-specific women and young girls. And once they come to UK and they ask for support in the cases when they're escaping violence, be it from domestic violence, human trafficking, or modern slavery, this campaign, that's what it's aiming to raise. So part of that campaign is for us to visit different venues, different audiences, and present this issue that we actually came across during a report that we did a couple of years ago as part of Refugee Community Network in London. The other thing that what I have come across as part of many organizations, but mostly the ones that I have actually founded, is people that have been through this, like Loretta. I would love to meet you. I have seen your book on social media. I never thought that I could see you in one of these conferences, and I do hope that when I'm back in London, we can meet up. But people like Loretta are very rare. For ourselves as an organization to create a campaign, which we actually managed to do that last year, and it's very short, 10 minutes. It took me about a year to gather 3 courageous women to come on a video and talk about their lived experience of being trafficked or being a victim of modern slavery or domestic violence, and their journey in UK as they actually are seeking sanctuary. So people like Urata could make a huge change, because we need service users. I think the ones that are going to make a change, like I always say, why would I want to go and do other things? I'm a scientist and I do continue studying science at the moment I'm doing masters, a bit late, but yes. But my passion is human rights. And why is that? Because I have a lived experience of a refugee background, and I will never forget that. I've been in UK for 30 years, and that is my mission. That's my duty. So similarly, I would continue to empower other women and young girls, and of course young men as well, to come up and speak about their own experience, so they actually can make others comfortable enough to come and join the mission and talk about their experiences, so then we can put a stop to human trafficking and modern slavery. But I would like to invite you all in our next events. Hopefully we can remain in touch, but also our weekly events or activities that we do in central West London with young people, mainly young people who are victims of human trafficking. And funny enough, often they don't even know the name of it. They don't, and because of that self-stigma as well, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be victims. So talking about it, normalizing it, I think is the best step that we can take forward. And one of those is just this meeting. So thank you so much for giving me the platform. And I wish I was part of this event in person. But all the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Remy. And she's quite busy. She's in Kosovo at the moment doing some important work, including studying and running her charity. So she's very, very busy and couldn't be here today. Hopefully at the next event. We did have 2 other speakers, but unfortunately, one due to a family emergency, another one due to a work emergency. We had a representative for the Metropolitan Police. He couldn't make it, unfortunately, as a detective superintendent. Would have talked a lot about what they do and the NRM. The other one would be Queen Aminita. She's the USA-born African queen. So she does a lot of work in the USA. Obviously, that's a very big issue as well. So I'm just going to have my colleague just speak about our charity's fundraising very briefly, and then we'll put a couple of videos on and get ready for the panel discussion. You guys have been very patient already, so hopefully half an hour, and then we'll have some lovely refreshments. Rebecca, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you can agree there's some very profound speeches this evening, some very moving talks and some statistics that we might not have already been aware about. So thank you very much for coming along and listening. And we really do hope this sparks some debate amongst you about why there isn't more work in this field, or the work that is being done, how we can support. And even today, we do have donation buckets by the refreshments in the blue buckets that Dr. Sheikh Ramzi is holding, and we have the donate bank details there. And just a little bit more information about what you're donating to. So the charity has worked together with various expertise in terms of legal research and education. So we are passionate about when somebody is coming out of the trafficking scenario and they don't know where to go or what to do, we are passionate about educating victims of where the local centre is, where the local police officer is, where the local Red Cross branch is, or certain support centre. We find it very important that when the victims are in a state of obvious, uncertainty about their future, they are educated on where to go to get help and support. So part of the fundraising we are doing is to create educational materials to support to educate victims. And we're also working on, I work in the corporate sector, and what we want to do as well is we want to create materials for corporations to understand the modern slavery statements. And for your organizations, I understand a lot of organizations have to do a certain amount of corporate responsibility and charity work. So if any of your businesses, organizations want to do volunteering, giving or want to donate as part from your corporation, then please do contact us and we can be your charity of choice. And we can provide volunteering as well if you want to sit with us, and we can show you the legal research work that we do. So we are really grateful for all of the donations, and I am more than happy to discuss with you exactly where the money is going and how you can be directly involved in some of the work that we do. Some of the other donations is actually towards hosting events like this so we can educate people and bring the very courageous victims of this heinous crime to present and share their story and promote their books as well as other sort of media promoting the cause. So we would be delighted to receive your donations and your support and sharing on social media of the anti-trafficking movement, because as we said, trafficking can affect anybody regardless of nationality, race or religion, and that is why from human to human we can support this cause. So any queries about the donations, please come to me, Dr. Sheikh Ramzi, Ali or Saf throughout the evening, and feel free to talk to us directly. Thank you.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, human trafficking rakes in an estimated $150 billion every year across the globe. DHS officials predict about 25 million people are human trafficking victims throughout the world, 80% in forced labor, 20% in sex trafficking.
You're telling me there's a place where they bring elites to compromise them with underage girls and they film them? Like, what? It sounds like nonsense. And not only is it true, but people keep getting murdered for it.
Hello. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Greetings. Well done. You've made it this far. You have a purpose. You're serving this purpose. And, you know, hearing all of the stories, hearing all of the speeches tonight and this evening, it's put one kind of quote, one kind of saying into my head. In the Quran, God says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the children of Adam, i.e. humanity. This isn't a religious organization. This isn't some church. This isn't a religious society. But nevertheless, whatever religion you are, whatever race you are, whatever society or ethnicity you belong to, this is for you. And I'm going to play another video, and this talks about how trafficking is roughly covered within the media. I work in media, I'm a political analyst, I'm a journalist. What words you use and what words you don't use matters more than you think. I can give a speech, or I can write an article, I can write news pieces, I can put out any kind of press release. What words I use will influence the masses, and what words I don't use will not influence the masses. And in journalism, it matters more about what you don't say, what you don't cover, than what you actually cover. You can talk about something, people may not care, but if you don't cover something specifically and intentionally, then that's with a purpose, and that will affect the masses as well. And trafficking is one of them. We've seen with some movies, we've seen with some content that has been released over the past few months. And yeah, this short video will show that, roughly.
Human trafficking. That's another thing that we don't talk about.
Yes. That is another thing that just goes in and out of the news. We were talking about on the podcast the 39 or 35 kids that were rescued in Georgia.
Yeah.
And it was a blip in the news. Like how, but meanwhile, I saw 1,000 articles on how mean Ellen is.
Yes.
Meanwhile, there's people are out there risking their life to stop human trafficking. They're rescuing children.
Yes.
Everyone's going crazy now.
Yeah.
Like this child trafficking thing is real. It has always existed.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day.
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
An estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at. But the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
In the meantime, they're trying to connect it to some conspiracy when, in fact, like you said, this is a true story. These are real kids. I mean, these kids are my friends. They're young adults now, the ones that were rescued. They're going to come out soon and tell their story. It's going to be very awkward when the mainstream media comes after these kids next and accuses them of being part of some conspiracy when, in fact, they were rescued from a life of rape. If the truth of human trafficking and child exploitation were to be brought to bear, brought to light, then they would have to have a debate, a discussion that they don't want to have about, again, these policies around sexualizing children or allowing children to consent at a young age to do anything and everything, which would eventually include being, identifying as an adult perhaps and having sex with pedophiles. Testing.
Thank you. Please. Martin, please. We have please take a seat anywhere in the 5 panel thing is yours. Another person Robin, sorry. Robin is here and I missed it. Please. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. What we have here, please. No, I'll be okay. We have expert panels, very expert panels we have here, which all has been, they know about the situation, they know about the situation of trafficking and have been involved to stop it. They know many have been victim of that, and many have been, of course, involved in the situation to stop it. It is a huge problem. It's a worldly problem, world problem. Therefore, what we need to do, we will take a few questions we have, which already has been asked on emailed us and said, please say from the very important people. And the second is, of course, one question from the email and one question we take it from the audience. Please make sure your question is short, sharp, and relevant to the trafficking. No human right, nothing else, only the trafficking which we have here. Thank you very much. And I ask the audience, anybody wants to have a question? A question? Yes, please. Introduce yourself.
My name is Ahmed al-Shaybani. I am the president of the Democratic Party of Libya. I am very moved by the speeches I heard this evening, especially from the lady from Serbia. It was unbearable. It was painful to my ears. However, my question is that I'm very touched by what you do all at grassroots level as civil society. Don't you think that you're doing the job of central government? Don't you think that the shelter home that you have opened, these issues should be addressed by central government, and these people, they should have a refuge? Government should provide this, not charities. You can do so much, but really this has to be addressed comprehensively, holistically, not at national level, but throughout Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very kind. Yes, I think it was with Mark. Mark was. This is your. Yes.
And to be fair, that is already happening. The 10 safe houses that we have operate under what is called the modern slavery victim care contract, which is a pot of money set aside by the Home Office, and that goes to the Salvation Army, which then subcontracts that to charities like ours. But it only does safe housing, supported accommodation. We have, as a charity, to supplement that with, when people leave those safe houses, what happens to them then? If they can't speak English, if they have no education, they have no skills, they don't know how to navigate the immigration system, complex as it is, that's where the charity comes in with its own funds to do that element of it. So it is a partnership at the moment with the government, and it has worked well so far. As to what the future holds, we don't know.
Any of the member panel? Sorry, any of the member panel want to?
So we've had the victim care contract for about 5 years now, and it's renewed every 2 years. So hopefully it will be renewed again.
I present it to panels. Anybody questions?
Well, I would just like to add to that I think what this movement is going to do and needs to do is to raise the profile so that it's made known. I mean, it's as this video that we last saw, very interesting video. It's squashed down, it's pushed down, and it's the work of journalists and us to blow up the issue so that there is a demand for actual caring for these people and addressing the issue and the cause, not just the cause, but the people who are receiving, the slaves, the sexual favors. This is something that our police can do. And I'm sure that there are some good people working on it, but we just need more.
Thank you. Robin, do you wanted to say something? Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I think
just make it short because otherwise...
It is a very, very important issue, this one, Dr. Ramsey. Anything I can do, I mean, I feel this should be highlighted with the government. And if you want me to highlight this to the...
That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, of course I will, yeah.
Yes,
I will.
That's why you're here. Thank you.
I think there's a competition of issues, and it's important to raise the profile. Humphrey Hoxley did a documentary on particularly bonded slavery, and we need documentaries like this to continually raise the profile.
Thank you. Here. The question coming from the staff from the emails, we have an important question. Please, the first question.
The first question we have is, this is to anyone in the panel, maybe Lorata, you could probably answer that, but you can all answer this, I guess. What are the root causes of human trafficking and forced displacement, and how do these factors interact with each other?
Yes, anyone?
What are the root causes of human trafficking and forced displacement, and how do these factors interact with each other? So the root causes of human trafficking and forced displacement.
Root cause of a human trafficking. Just talk in this one. Speak in this one. Thank you.
From my experience, I think it was when people or children are vulnerable and desperate for survival, and better life. So you go to any war that's happened in Syria, Yugoslavia on our doorstep, and I've been working with most recent war that we've had just now with Ukraine. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just a bit foggy today and an emotional moment. So been working with Ukraine, and so the parents are giving the children for a better life, so they're giving it to these people they don't know, and so on. Where are the kids ending up? Nowhere. They just go missing. I think that's the cause. The cause is that it's vulnerability, war, and then we were saying poverty. Poverty has to play a big role because people want a better life. But I'm going to touch just on this because I can go on forever, but then I'll give it to someone else.
If I think of the people who come here, in Albania it is poverty. Most of the people are coming because of poverty. In Sudan and Eritrea, it's about war. In Vietnam, it's about poverty. In the UK, it's about, you're quite right, it's about vulnerability. We've had in the north, somebody, if you look up The Man in the Shed story, it's about a 52-year-old man who was kept in a shed, which was worse than the dog kennel, which just was next to him. No heating, he had a mattress on the floor. And he felt that the people he was living with, who sent him out to work and took all his money, he felt that they were doing him a favor, and he didn't want to give evidence against them. But they had him in modern slavery conditions for many years. And that was a case that made it into headlines just last year. So it's vulnerability, yes, poverty, war, you've ticked all the boxes. Those are the main ones.
Please make it short. That's it? Okay, thank you. Allow me to say, of course, one thing I would like to say, of course, I spoke that poverty is very, very important. Got important point which ruling in this one. I saw one of the big black actress, top actress in the world was there, and they invited me there for something, and she was saying, "Oh, I want to give. I have when I'm coming here. Of course, I've got the money for my dad. I've got the money for father. I've got the dad. I've got this." And what she says become millions of these girls. Millions of these say, "I want to be like you, I want to be like you." And some people will say, "Would you like to be like her? Come with me." And that's trapping. That's trapping. And I told her, instead of you are saying, "I give it to my mother and my father," they want to help their mother and father as well. And what is going straight goes to the trap. I said, instead of you come and say, doing this, say, watch. Is not everybody want to, maybe 20 million can be like that. Watch, otherwise you're going to interrupt. Next one, please.
The question I would like to ask, apart from donating money to the good cause, can you brief us, what, as all of us individual, can contribute towards this wonderful job you're doing?
Good question. Very good question.
I think I should answer that, or the team has to answer that. Thank you very much. The team, we are asking to everyone. We got a name of everyone who wants to get involved. It is all has to get involved. One or two, even one leave is too many. We have to be united. We have to be all united. You believe me? We're all united, and by the grace of Almighty God, we can stop it. We can stop this cartel. We can establish no one bring anything to UK or America. America is six country which import for the pedophile and for the sex. This is evil. And this country, I don't say how many what rank is that. Therefore, we have to stop it. The police can stop it. And they will do it by the grace of God. While we're talking to the government, as of course a member of the government here. He will help us. He will help us, inshallah, to get there slowly but surely. As I said, we're going to have £100,000 with 1,000 people to save within a few years, inshallah. Next one, please.
One over there.
We are all inspired now.
Ali.
Inshallah. You want to do this? We are all, we are all, okay, yalla.
Just one thing I would like to add on about the questions. The main reason is like why this thing is not going to stop, because most of the time the perpetrator, there's no action taken against them. from my experience, when I've asked why don't take action, because they said I'm not allowed to tell their name. I'm the victim. So this is the things like we have to come out on that, like to expose those people who is doing. So then what happened? There's so many people in our society who is part of them. So there will be a war, I think. And that's why we have to be more active. And on top of that, the question I would like to add, how we can make it more effective, because charity, you work with the charity, I'm the part of the charity. Charity has a very limited, their hand is not that long, how the government they have. When we go to the charity, they said we can't do much. So how we could do work with the government and make it in action than word. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I just want to add to this and say that it doesn't have to be money that you contribute. It's your time. If everybody in this room was doing something, approaching their member of parliament, approaching people that need help, making themselves available, we can arrange training to do whatever's needed, Don't focus on the money only. That is obviously important, but your time is really important too.
Yes, we have a... Yes, please.
Sorry, can I add on to that? I think Martin's saying approach your local member of parliament, tell them, and the awareness is very, very important. This is what you need to do. But other than that, I think we will raise it. There's no problem. We'll raise the issues, but you have to speak to your local member of parliaments, get them to speak about it as well.
Yes, please. Just let's
Sorry.
let's see. One by one. One question, please, as quick as possible. Everything has to be short. Yes, please.
Go first.
Okay, I think this gentleman here in front of me,
Yes.
the victim, has raised a very important question about trying to expose the very perpetrators. And it would be great if we actually could contact our local MPs and they actually did something about anything.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm sorry, this goes to the top.
Excellent.
This country had a prime minister who was a paedophile. His name was Ted Heath.
Yes,
and he was
yes.
protected and he was supplied by Jimmy Savile. This goes to the top. And this is now really being exposed. But these are the very people that are pulling the strings, have the power, have the money, have the control, and it's not just trafficking, it's any number of things. So I'm sorry, we cannot trust governments, we cannot trust politicians, because they're the very ones that are involved in this up to their eyeballs. All right?
They are representing of us, and we have to push. They can do it, inshallah, by their greatest efforts. Thank you very much. Please, next. Yes. And please, short and sharp, because we haven't got time.
Okay, can I ask what is being done to educate the men and change the mindset of like grooming? What is being done?
Yes, please, yes.
Do you know, education starts at home, so I think we need to start with our children. And I have my boys, everybody was like, Loretta, don't tell boys everything. I said, why shouldn't I? They treat women, they act like they're 50 years of age or 60, that they've lived in a sort of kind of under royalty, because I have brought them to the point where they literally think before they speak, and they're only 13. So making them aware how you treat other people, including all genders, not just females, I think it's where it starts. They know about human trafficking, they know about sex exploitation, and so the next step it would be schools taking this a bit more seriously, because I get a call from the school saying the school doesn't know my story. So they call me, they say, we're talking about sex education. Jack has withdrawn himself completely. Could you speak to him and find out whether he was sexually abused at any point? And can you imagine, my heartbeat just went like silent. I had a chat with the boy and he said, no, Mummy, I was just listening because I was thinking, wow, Mummy must have endured a lot of pain, a lot of injustice. So it didn't do my boy any wrong to know what it meant. It's just he withdrew himself because he was thinking in a different perspective rather than sex education in a different way. So schools need to be more open to speak about this.
We've got 2 more questions we can take from the audience. 2 more questions.
Can I just say one more thing on what Lurata said? That, some of the work that we will be doing is engaging with schools, colleges, places of worship, and educating people about human trafficking, sex trafficking, and what to look out for.
Thank you. Questions? Yes. Yes.
You know the MPs, they're not all bad, and I know that if we can approach them, and you can make a personal, give and take, they would listen to you. But you must get quite a number of MPs that Robin, early morning thing, yeah. Early morning motion they can do in the parliament if enough MPs get these complaints or suggestions. So why don't we do that? And lots of us, although we're very kind of eager, but it will be nice to show one letter that is an example. Yeah, somebody that can write very well, but 1 or 2 different lines you change, and you, the person, can also put lines. Then that would make very good effect, in my opinion.
I'm just impressed that we have an MP, so wow.
Yes, please.
What I want everybody to promise me here tonight, when you go back home, email your member of parliament, and if they don't respond to you, then you speak to me, Sister Margaret. Yeah? Will everybody promise me they're going to email their member of parliament? Yeah. Please do that, and if then they don't respond to you, then you speak to me. I'll make sure they respond back to you. Thank you.
Just if it could be made easy for everyone to do it, if a paragraph could be sent out to everyone that they could forward.
That's right.
If they want help, there's a few of us who've done it, campaigns before. I think there's a few of us here, then we could help.
Can you lead our campaigns? No problem. Here you are. Put your hand together. Thank you. Yeah, please.
No, I think that's a great initiative. What we can do is come up with a draft letter with responses from all of our panel members, experts, and then find your local MP and send a message. Also, we'd just like to let you know these are on your seats. We have an open petition currently to introduce harsher punishments against organised human trafficking. It's with the UK government at the moment. We're trying to build as many signatures as we can, and hopefully they'll speak about it and work harder towards it after they get all of our letters. And please just scan it with your phone, little QR code.
Thank you. Next question. Next question. Yes, please. And very short and sharp, please. We haven't got time. Next question.
Thank you very much for covering this hot topic, especially about trafficking, slavery, and child slavery as well. This seminar could have been more inclusive if you could have talked about Yazidi minorities, which they were enslaved by the ISIS, because they were just a minority religion in that area. They are Kurds, and all their children were taken with women, and they were sold in a public place, public bazaar, in Raqqa and Tabqa. So over 50,000 women were enslaved. There is still 25,000, nobody knows where they are. It could have been more inclusive if you could have brought someone from that group as well, especially Nadia Murad. She was awarded a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
Inshallah, we can do that. Next question, please. Next question, yes. Can you introduce yourself as well, which you know who is speaking?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Rupin. I'm actually a life coach right now, and I help men have healthy, loving relationships. So thanks everybody for the amazing talks. My question was just about the statistics that we heard. It was quite alarming and surprising to hear that the UK is like the #1 of all human trafficking around the world. So I was just wondering if you can maybe expand on that, tell us more, because it's such a surprise. It seems like maybe an invisible thing that's happening somewhere in the UK that we just don't really know about. But what's going on, like 27% of us?
Yeah, well, the two major areas are people with mental health issues. And the guy that I told you about, the 52-year-old man, he had mental health problems. So they prey on the vulnerability of people who have mental health issues and say, well, we're helping you out, and then they force them to work. The other area is county line gangs, where they recruit children to traffic drugs, and that's why it's called county lines, across counties. And a lot of these kids are actually trapped in that. Once they've started moving the drugs, they can't escape. They're threatened with physical violence against them or their entire families. So most of the modern slavery in the UK at the moment is criminal exploitation, i.e. the county line gangs, and people with mental health problems, and teenagers as well, who've left home and so on, and are looking for meaning in their lives and so on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any member of panels? Anything else to add? Next question.
Question.
The last question. Yes, please. You're going to have food. And between you and the food is this.
Yeah. My name's Stephen. If there was someone who's being abused, let's say in your nearby community or nearby vicinity, is there any steps or advice you would take to be able to better recognize it? Sure. If there was someone being abused in our country, in your community, are there any steps or advice you would prescribe on how to best recognize it?
So there is a procedure. If you think that somebody is being exploited, then you can call what is called the Modern Slavery Helpline. If you Google Modern Slavery Helpline, it comes up very, very quickly. You can also contact our charity, because we can then put you on to the police. A lot of people don't like calling the police because they are fearful of authority. They think they'll be sent straight back home and all of that, and back into the hands of traffickers. So charities, in fact, like this as well, you can actually call them up and say, I think I've been trafficked. I think I'm in modern slavery. Can you help me? That charity will then go on to what is called the NRM, the National Referral Mechanism, which is where we interview that person. It doesn't have to be the police. We interview that person. Then we liaise with the Home Office to get what is called a reasonable grounds decision. Once you get a reasonable grounds decision, you can then go into one of the safe houses and be protected there. Nobody knows the location of any of our safe houses except a few people who work there. And then after that, then we negotiate with the Home Office in terms of the immigration status, getting them regularized, and then they will have a conclusive grounds decision, which then puts them on a path to gaining asylum and refugee status. And so that's the procedure. But it's looking for the signs, spotting the signs, where you think somebody is coming to work with marks around their face. There are websites which will give you a list of things about spotting the signs. Somebody's coming to work, working overtime, being picked up. He's not going home. He doesn't have a passport to show when you ask him. All these things are little signs to look for.
What?
And then, yes.
Very kind of you. I think anybody else? Yes. Thank you very much. God bless you all. That was excellent people. Can you put your hand together for yourself? What we need to do, of course, we have a bucket for donation there. The food and everything is there, all free. But of course, please donate. Please donate, and please get in touch with us. We have your number. Anybody says yes, they want to, we will contact you. Anybody wants to, any problem, we are here to help and to educate and to save life. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Please go for a food and do your networking. There is a networking for half an hour networking. Please do that. God bless you all. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, go on ask him. Yeah, there you go. Go on ask him.
No, I won't ask you personally.
What was it?
It was a public question.
She wants us.
I had a question, but more than 1 minute.